The Patriots managed to beat the snow. They took off for Arizona early this afternoon after a rousing send-off at City Hall Plaza in Boston. Hundreds of fans turned out to support their team on its way to the Super Bowl. And the cold, snowy weather is not the only thing the Patriots are looking to leave behind in New England, as Deflategate, or as some call it, Ballghazi, is still on the minds of many. But Mayor Marty Walsh delivered the message.
We let these guys and the rest of the country know that we love our Patriots and we support our Patriots.
Thank all of you for this great send-off. We really appreciate your support. You've been there all year for us, and we're excited to go out and represent the AFC in Arizona.
You know what? We have the greatest fans in all of football.
And those fans showed their full support today. For millions of fans across New England, it was an occasion for celebration 2 Sundays ago when the clock wound down and it was clear the Patriots were Super Bowl bound. But as WGBH News reporter Edgar Herwick III shows us, for the folks at a small publishing company in Lynn, it was time to go to work.
This office looks a lot like any other across New England. There are emails to check, meetings and conference calls, and plenty of sports memorabilia. But what's unique about this business is that they produced everything that you see on these walls. This is the home of H.O. Zimmern, makers of the NFL's official Super Bowl program.
We either write, rewrite, edit, or approve every editorial page in the book.
John Veneziano is the editor of the Super Bowl program, the thick, glossy magazine that's in part a guide for the game, but also a yearbook for the season that was.
I was telling people I was here and my primary responsibility was the Super Bowl. They go, well, what do you do the other 11 months a year? And they don't understand there's a lot more than 1 month of work.
At nearly 300 pages, it's a tall task for a small business of just 15 employees. Some of the program was finished weeks ago, like this article showing the Super Bowl's past. But most of it is dedicated to the 2 teams in the big game. And that's the wrinkle. Up until the last minute, nobody knows which 2 teams that will be. So they get a jump by following each playoff team.
We have extensive photography available probably for 8 or 12 teams.
Once it's down to 4 teams, it's a furious week of writing, editing, and designing.
When we get the photography ready, we have the stories, we start to edit the stories and design them. And then we prepare them all during that 1-week period.
Seattle's comeback victory over Green Bay in this year's NFC Championship game demonstrates the high wire act that they're undertaking.
The Green Bay pages, clean as could be, with about 4 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And 45 minutes later, they were in the trash.
Once the Super Bowl matchup is set, they immediately fire up the presses.
We literally are printing by midnight the most current sections. And then we're binding by 4:30 in the morning.
The programs are then shipped to newsstands across the country and, more importantly, to the stadium for the game itself. It's a whirlwind these folks know well. They've been producing sports programs for 8 decades now.
We started publishing for the US LTA at the end of the 40s, and we are still in tennis, still doing the US Open program.
It was their annual U.S. Open tennis program that first put them on the NFL's radar 12 years ago. Today, they handle many of the most prestigious events in sports.
We're producing the Masters program for the golf down in Augusta. We do work for the Baseball Hall of Fame. We do work for the Football Hall of Fame. So we have our hands full.
And while they do non-sports programs too, like Boston's annual flower show, even the last presidential inauguration, both Scharf and Veneziano say there is something a little extra super about the Super Bowl.
We do a good job, and it's nice to see that people get to have that in their hands.
A program won't wear out like a shirt. If you take good care of it, this is something you have for generations.
Well, Adam, as you know, here in New England, we love a good sports superstition. And it's worth noting they've been doing this for 12 years, Super Bowl program, and 5 of those years have featured the Patriots.
So let me check this thing out. What else is in here? You know, the write-up of the game itself, but you were telling me there's a whole bunch of other kind of ephemera, right?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really is like a yearbook for the year that just was, and also a history of the Super Bowl game, of which there's been going to be 49 now.
So they'll do
like a little write-up of each
yeah.
Super Bowl. They have pictures of the Super Bowl ring, tell you who won the MVP. They do these great little by-the-numbers things where there's a little feature here that's talking about things like the most quarterback, number 12 was worn by the most quarterbacks
who won
a Super Bowl.
Right. And this holographic, I don't know if people can check this out at home. I don't know if it's going to bust the camera or anything like that.
There it is.
Very cool. So I drive by this place actually every single time I go to or from work, and I had no inkling that it was there. I mean, tiny little place and sort of an anonymous strip mall.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by like an insurance company and like I think like a travel agency. So it's just like this, office building, and you would never know that up there is where they're doing the Super Bowl program, they're doing the Masters program,
presidential inauguration.
Presidential inauguration. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
How many people work for this company,
they have
roughly?
15 people full-time. Okay. And then when they do the Super Bowl program, like they were saying, they have probably about 15 freelancers that they use as well. Because, as we saw in the package, when they get down to 4 teams, they've got to prepare a version of this that works for any combination of those 4 teams. So they have writers in the cities where the games, where the 4 teams are, working on features and articles and photo spreads and all of that stuff. So they have a handful of writers that help them out, but 15 full-time employees.
How do you get this thing if you want it?
So you mentioned the holograph thing, and the holograph is not on everyone. You can go to some newsstands in the area, they should have them, right? But it won't have the holograph. The holograph is especially for those sold at the stadium. So if you go to the actual Super Bowl, you can buy the holographic version at the Super Bowl. But you can also get the holographic version if you're a New England fan and you want to get one of these and have one of these. You get it through their website, through H.O. Zimmon. You can order it online and you can get the holographic.
How much?
$20 for the holograph, 15 without.
That's actually a lot less than I would have thought. Not to show for the company here. Tell me just briefly, what's the backstory to this Zimmon family?
So H.O. Zimmon is Harold Zimmon. Him and his wife back in the 40s. He started this publishing company with his wife. Now what's interesting about him is he was the captain of the Tufts football team in 1938. And the Tufts football field is named after him. He was a longtime benefactor. And he actually also was on the U.S. Olympic Committee, on the board of directors for the U.S. Olympic Committee for a period of years as well. So he started it. They were always in sports publishing. His son now is the president and the owner of the company. So still family-owned Zimmon Company, born and bred in Lynn.
All right. Edgar, very cool. Thanks.